Hey guys, it's Ben here with the Half Court Heave podcast. The trio is back again. Isaac finally back on, doing whatever he's doing. We're not going to ask. But anyways, before we get into the action today, of course, we got to promote our merch. As always, it's free. Well, it's not free. It's like $25 for a hoodie, 11
$10
for
for
a
a
shirt,
t-shirt. I mean, as
11
you said
for
so
a
many times
shirt.
before, guys. Come
That's
on.
pretty hype. In my opinion, that's pretty hype. So, I mean, go get your merch right now. There's soon to be shirts with our three faces on it and soon to be a discount sale. But get yours soon. But yeah, go follow our Instagram and go before you get into the action and listen to our first topic, which is going to be fire. Go ahead and like and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. It really helps us out. But anyways, I think we're just going to get into our first topic, which is our perfect offseason for the Los Angeles Clippers. Isaac, what about you start us off?
All right, so I had a couple different ideas here because there are a lot of guys that they can, some people are going to talk about keeping their core pieces, but it seemed like the talent was there. I know I love talking about chemistry, but it's a little bit more than chemistry. It was also just about, it seemed like the locker room was messed up. You never know what's really going on in the locker room. But it seemed like a lot of their guys weren't getting along, and that definitely filtered through to the playoffs. It also came through when they were talking about Doc Rivers getting fired, how they felt about that. And also, it seemed like some of their pieces, like Pat Bev and Lou Williams, and I think Montrezl Harrell talking about how they didn't feel like they were treated equally to Kawhi Leonard and even Paul George. Yeah. So that being said, I'm going to send Patrick Beverley and Lou Williams to Detroit for Derrick Rose. And so what I'm thinking here is that both of those guys seem to be having chemistry issues with Kawhi and Paul George. That seems pretty evident at this point. And Lou Williams isn't actually, they don't need that scoring. If anything, he's holding Kawhi back from being a big scorer. They don't need that scoring. I'm going to bring back Reggie Jackson, who's a pretty good scorer. They have guys who can score. And really, they have to go all in on on Kawhi and Paul George.
Yeah.
And then Derrick Rose is going to be a good fit for them. He can also be a good scorer. He's an elite point guard. He is still not too old. Free agent pickups, I'm looking at Serge Ibaka as a center, and I'm looking at Carmelo, which is another scoring option they can get off the bench that I think would work better for chemistry. You've seen that Melo has been able to fit on teams very well they can get rid of Lou Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm also going to bring back Marcus Morris and let Montrezl Harrell walk because that money is that's too much for them. They don't need him. He's not as critical a piece on their team, especially bringing in Serge Ibaka.
And then will the rest of the rosters be fill-ins, or there's a draft pick?
Yeah.
Right?
So for the draft, I think Diakite from Virginia would be a good draft pick. He can come in off the bench, and then I'm gonna let Joakim Noah and Jonathan Motley walk. I think a lot of those guys were brought in just as like a quick addition to the championship, trying to get a championship this year. They don't really need that building up a team for next year.
Yeah, I think I got next. I'll make mine pretty brief for you, Arjun. So for my offseason, I'm trading Paul George. I think the Paul George experiment, it doesn't work very well with Kawhi Leonard. Shaq said it best when he said that the Clippers, if they're going to win anything, they'll need Paul George off the roster so that Kawhi can fully be the man. He can fully step up into that role as the number one guy on that team. So in that case, I'm trading him and pick 57, since it's pretty useless to me, for Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, Joe Harris, and pick 19. That might be a little much, but I mean, he's a superstar, and adding a superstar to that duo of KD and Kyrie would mean a lot to that Nets team. I mean, that trio would basically be unstoppable no matter how bad of a playoff night Paul George has. But also they need playoff talent. Well, they also just need young talent. But then going on to the draft, which is young talent, I will be taking with the pick 19 I got via trade, Precious Achiuwa. They need forward play, and he's exactly what forward play they need. But then for the
this is the pick that you got from the trade.
Yeah, the pick I got from the trade. And then for free agency, I'm only bringing back Marcus Morris out of that group. I don't think Montrezl Harrell is very valuable at all to a team when it comes to being a center, and they need a center and like a pure center. But other than that, everybody else walks. Joakim Noah, Reggie Jackson, all of them. And then my free agent pickups will be Rajon Rondo and Andre Drummond, they will be very big to this operation. Rajon Rondo will be backing up Dinwiddie, and he'll be very good at it. You saw what he did in the playoffs for the Lakers. And then also Andre Drummond, as I said earlier, they need a big center in the middle, and Montrezl Harrell wasn't doing that. So I think I've built the perfect squad for the Clippers. Hopefully this is realistic, but Arjun, what's yours?
Okay. Let's start with the draft. Now, I think we have a late draft pick, and I would draft Ashton Higgins, I don't know, but watching him in college, he was a pretty solid. He's a small point guard from Kentucky. I think if you sign him to a 2-way contract, get him in the G League, try and develop him, he could be something. Now, my first trade, I'm going to give up Patrick Beverley, who I think, as much as he brings to a team when it comes to energy and getting the skins of players, I don't think that's worth 12 mil. So give up Patrick Beverley, Marcus Morris, who's been putting up 17 points a game. He's a great scorer. Give him and Beverley for Ricky Rubio, who I think is one of the best playmakers in this league. He can do a lot for this team. I think that's the piece that the Clippers are missing. So I would release, like you guys said, I want to get rid of those old guys. I'd release I'd release Harkless. I'd get rid of Jackson, Motley, and Patterson and Magruder. I do want to make sure, and I'd let Harrell walk. Signings. I do want to sign Joe Harris to a 2-year $9 million deal. I think Joe Harris can bring a lot. He can start. I think he should start, and he can bring a lot to this team. He's a great shooter. He's an amazing shooter. He's very consistent. Yeah. And then sign Drake Crowder to another $9 million 2-year deal because he's muscle. He could bring a lot of defensive energy to your bench. Now, the final lineup would look like Rubio, Harris, George, Leonard, and then Zubac. And then we have Lou Will as 6th man.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good. And I think we won't talk more about this. Besides, I just want to get in before we move on to our next. I do want to say, I think you gave up a little too much for Ricky Rubio for my liking. But again, it's not our giving. It's not our thoughts. It's the general manager in the end of the day.
Yeah, finally, they have to go all in. They either have to go in with Kawhi and Paul George or just scrap it like you guys have gone. They can't go halfway. They really have to.
And it's also the fact that the Suns are kind of stupid. So the management at least.
But speaking of the Suns and being stupid, we got another thing I really want to talk about, which is the Heat have said that they will not trade. They would have refused to trade Devin Booker and give up Tyler Herro. They would only give up Tyler Herro in a trade for Bradley Beal or Karl Anthony Towns. How untouchable is too untouchable to make Tyler Herro? And would you, if you were the Heat, avoid trading Herro for Devin Booker? Arjun, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. I think Tyler Herro put up a great performance in the playoffs. He did struggle. He had a pretty bad performance in the playoffs, but hey, he's a young guy. He's 20. He's a bright future. Now, what I think is too much in the untouchable category is absolutely refusing to get Devin Booker, because Devin Booker is just disrespected by 2K, is disrespected by the league. He showed it in the bubble. This guy is one of the best scorers in the league. He's a terrific scorer. He could bring a lot to the Heat. So you shouldn't completely disregard the idea of trading Herro. Remember, you need to do what it takes to win. Now, I'm sure you could bring up the fact that, Miami's a defensive team. Booker's a lazy defender, which he kind of is. He's not a great defender, but his scoring makes up for it. And Spoelstra isn't a defensive-heavy coach. He's very versatile. We've seen it with LeBron and D. Wade. What I think they should do is they should try and keep Herro, because he is a great young talent. But if you can snag a deal with Devin Booker, I would do that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, I think. But I'm a little harsher than you, where I think, man, if they offer you for Herro and Duncan an assortment of picks, do that. Because Tyler Herro, they said that Tyler Herro they think he can be better than Devin Booker. He surely does have that potential. Obviously, when you play like that in the playoffs, you obviously have that potential to be that good. But if I'm a team that just went to the finals last year and I have a chance to trade one of my good young guys for Devin Booker, who's severely underrated. He put up 27, 5, and 7 last year. He's one of the, if not the most elite scorers in the NBA right now. I think he's top 3. The guy can put the rock in the hoop whenever he wants. If you are rejecting a trade of Tyler Herro for Devin Booker, you're seriously too stubborn as a general manager, and you should retire. Obviously, Pat Riley, he's a lot smarter than I am when it comes to basketball. but I think that would be a purely stupid move if you reject to trade him for anybody but Beal or Giannis if you can get Devin Booker, because Devin Booker would be beautiful aside Jimmy Butler. Before I continue my point, Isaac, you want to answer this?
Yeah. So what the Miami Heat had going for them last year was, I think, their depth as a team. First of all, I just want to clarify something. You would give up Duncan and Herro for Devin Booker.
That's not the total. There's no solidified trade, but like in a package with.
I mean, okay. So I just think, I know I seem to talk about this in every topic, but I think it's very important in the NBA because when you talk about like injuries, when you talk about players in the locker room and leadership, chemistry is what it comes down to. And that's what they had going for them last year. They had a deep team. They had 2 all-stars, but they didn't have anyone like stand out as a superstar player. Like the Lakers had 2 top 5 players, at least 2 top 10 with AD and LeBron. But these guys, they had incredible depth, and they were able to have Jimmy Butler as a great leader, and he fit in perfectly with their system. And I think that's a risk to mess that system up because not everyone can just play with Jimmy Butler. We've seen that in the past. Joel, I mean, he didn't seem to fit in well with Philly. Not everyone can play well with Jimmy Butler, and that's a risk to them. Tyler Herro is a very young guy. They can pick up people in the offseason. We know that they're targeting Giannis in the future. Jimmy and Devin Booker is going to want his money, to be clear, especially in the future. But I think Tyler Herro fits great under Butler's leadership. He's a young player. They can develop him in that system. They can pick up free agents. But it's about in that system with Jimmy Butler and his chemistry, and he fit in perfectly with Jimmy Butler. And they already have a very good team.
I think that is a valid point onto why you should keep and try to keep Tyler Herro unless you get a God offer. But I mean, when you look at God offers for a guy like Tyler Herro, Devin Booker is like the pinnacle of that. Devin Booker, I mean, you said that he might not fit with Jimmy Butler, but I mean, the thing that made Jimmy Butler so good in Miami is that he had a team of shooters around him. And I mean, Devin Booker is anything plus a shooter. Like he's definitely one of the best shooters in the league. He won the 3-point contest just a couple years ago, or was he in competition for it? I don't remember. I think that if you can pick up Devin Booker for Tyler Herro, I think that's nothing alongside chemistry. Of course, the chemistry would be that Tyler Herro is best friends with Jimmy Butler, but of course it's a business. It's not a friendship. It's who you can get, who's the best players. And
that makes sense. It's just that, is Devin Booker able to give up to play in a Jimmy Butler system because it is his team, and to play in the Miami Heat culture because they have to do that because then they got to go all in with those guys. And that's
I mean Devin Booker. Before I pass it on to you, Arjun, I just want to say something really quick. Is that Devin Booker has been suffering in Phoenix, so he would be willing to go to a team where there's 10 players in front of him. I bet the dude just wants to win. He's been stuck in Phoenix his entire career, and he wants to win in Phoenix, but I don't see that happening. But Arjun, what do you want to say?
No. Isaac, you were talking about the Heat team, and I think we need to bring up the fact that they were a 5th seed coming into the playoffs. They were a good regular season team. But they weren't great. And I think the fact that you said that they weren't, like, there wasn't a clear superstar. Jimmy Butler was the clear superstar. Those young guys were averaging like 12, 11, which is great. They're great that they're doing that. But Jimmy Butler was the clear leader of the team. Now, Ben, you did say that you didn't see Devin Booker winning in the Suns. The reason why I would say, the Suns should not trade them. He should obviously not trade Devin Booker because they did just go 8-0 in the bubble.
Yeah, so absolutely.
They could. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say they're going to be a superpower in the West, which they're probably not going to be, but they do have somewhat of a winning culture. I'm just going to give my big baseline conclusion. And it's that you probably should keep Tyler Herro, do what you need to do. He's a young player, but if you're given the opportunity, the Suns can be a stupid organization. If you give him the opportunity, you see something crazy.
The Suns. You said that the Suns, they have winning culture. They have zero winning culture. I don't care how.
I didn't say
straight in the bubble.
I didn't say
they did win. They have zero negative winning culture. This team has no winning culture at all. They won 8 games in the bubble. That was great, but it was the bubble, and they didn't even make the playoffs after it, which is sad.
But they were looking good at the end of the season, though. They were looking good. Do you
Yeah,
know?
but they also miss the playoffs. They do not
Yeah,
have a
because
winning culture.
Ayton
If you're
was
going to say
suspended
that
for
the Suns have a
25
winning culture, you're going to
games.
say that the Charlotte Hornets have a winning culture. And me as a Hornets fan can clarify that is
But
definitely
then
not
I
true.
didn't say they have a winning culture. I never said that. I just said that they have a chance to become a good they are a good team.
Yeah,
They went
they're
8
a
in the bubble.
talented
They beat
team. Not the,
To be fair, Devin Booker, maybe in the future, Devin Booker can be the best player on the team. Right now, he probably can't, but definitely cannot build a championship team around Tyler Herro. So that's a horrible move for the Suns, unless they package him. I mean, I can't see that being a good move for them in any scenario.
yeah, I think that'll do it for us for this topic. I think I want to talk about something else. It's more prediction based, which is who are your top 10 players going into the next NBA season? I'll actually start it off. I think my list might not be as loved as yours. I think you guys probably have some basic lists, but my top two, I got LeBron and then I got Giannis at 2. Those are pretty obvious. I don't think I have to explain those at all. Steph at 3. It's a little high for him coming off injury, you might think, but you know what? We saw him in the regular season some, and of course, Steph Curry's a shooter. It's not like the offseason's wearing on him too much, and I think that he'll be an MVP candidate with how much that he'll have to do for the Warriors next season, judging off the fact that, of course, there's not much depth on that team. And then at 4, I got Luka Doncic. I think that he could be seriously in MVP contention, but of course, I have those 3 players above him. And then at 5, I have Anthony Davis. I think Anthony Davis has proven himself, especially in the playoffs, to be one of the most elite players in the NBA. And then soon he could be a top 3 player, but I have him generally for next season as number 5. And then at 6, I have Kevin Durant. I would have him higher. Of course, he's probably one of the most talented players ever to play the game of basketball, but he's coming off that injury that only Dominique has come back as somewhat of what he used to be from. So I don't have much trust in what he'll be. I would prefer not to put him on here because we don't know what he will be, and I don't want to grade him yet. But of course, that's not because he wouldn't be a top 10. It's just, but I'll put him at 6. And then at 7, I have James Harden. I think James Harden, of course, one of the most prolific scorers ever to play basketball. And then he's going to be on a team by himself. And he's at number 7 for me because I think they'll trade Russell Westbrook. I think that the players in front of him will just have better seasons. And then at number 8, I have Kawhi Leonard. Of course, Kawhi Leonard, being the beast he is, just can't really put it together in the regular season. He's a very, very overrated defender he's a very overrated defender after, of course, he left the Spurs. He was asked to be more of an offensive facilitator, and that didn't pan out for his defense. His defense took a tremendous fall off as soon as he left Greg Popovich because he was asked to do more on the offensive end. And then at 9, I have Nikola Jokic. Of course, he's the best center in the NBA. I had to put him in there. He could fit in any system he wants to. And then at 10, I have Damian Lillard, but a sleeper, a dark horse with the Daryl Morey signing would be Ben Simmons if he can really develop, but I don't know. Anyways, what do you guys think about my list?
All right, come here. Okay. Ben seems to be switching back on Kawhi. I feel like every time we talk about him, how could you have Kawhi at 8?
Because I said it myself. I said it myself. He fell off. He's still an elite defender, but he's overrated now. He fell off a tremendous amount when he left San Antonio. Now people are starting to figure it out because Kawhi Leonard,
Ben, the whole time before the season, you were talking about just wait for playoff Kawhi, right?
Yeah, because everybody overreacted to the Toronto series.
But
I think
but we didn't. But you just said he fell off since San Antonio. So what happened to praising him with the Raptors?
Defensively, I really looked into it, and you see that he really fell off defensively when he left because he was more of an offensive facilitator. I think if it's 100% playoffs, of course he's higher. He's above James Harden. He's above all these other guys. But when you look at it, I think that he has to be number 8 because the 7 players that I have in front of him are definitely going to be better next season. This is not.
It doesn't matter defensively. It doesn't matter if you've fallen off defensively. You cannot put him at 7. To 8. You can't put him at 8. This guy willed this Clippers team. He was so consistent. He had I think he maintained about 28, 9, and 7 throughout the playoffs. How can you say that this guy is number 8?
I can say that he's number 8 because this is judging off next season. This isn't my overall for the future going. The number 8, he's not that. If you look at the playoffs, if you look at more in the future, if you look at not just next season, I think the Clippers will be making a lot of moves. I think that will confuse Kawhi Leonard a lot. I think Kawhi might be losing Paul George this offseason. He got a brand new coach, and of course, I've said everything else I need to say about him. And I think that you got Harden, KD, Anthony Davis, Luka Doncic, Stephen Curry, Giannis, and LeBron James. I don't think Kawhi deserves to be above any of
I'm gonna
those
bring
guys
one
for
more
the next
thing.
coming
Okay,
season.
You put
okay,
Harden
let me.
pretty low at that list. You put Harden very low.
But who would he be in front of?
What do you mean?
Who's he in front of on that list?
He's in front of Luka. He's in front
No,
of Anthony
not
Davis.
for next
He's
season.
in front
No.
of Durant. He's in front of Curry right now. This guy is a 30
In front of Curry?
point per game scorer in the regular season. How can
In the
you take
regular
that for
season,
granted?
you have to include
A
everything.
35 point
Okay,
per
okay,
game
all
scorer.
right. Let me say my list. Okay, so number 1, LeBron, very obvious.
Explains itself.
Number 2 and 3, I have a variable. I would say Kawhi and Giannis because Giannis is clearly a better regular season player. Kawhi has shown to be a much better postseason player. I have Curry at number 4. He's had an injury. I don't think that's going to affect Curry too much. He's going to come back. People really have not talked about Curry for a long time, since the finals of 2019. So he's got something to prove, definitely. So I've got AD at number 5. He played incredibly in the finals. Great duo with LeBron. I'm pretty convinced he's going to stay with LA. I can't imagine that he wouldn't stay with LA with the relationship he has with their team and with LeBron James. At number 6, I've got KD because I have confidence KD has something to prove. And just to be clear, this list is going to be wrong for next year. It's going to be wrong because some of these players.
Yeah.
I mean, KD's going to go up or down. I think if KD plays how he's played in the past, or even 80%, 90% of that, he's going to be higher than I put him. At number 6, after KD, at number 7, I've got Harden. Like Arjun said, I think Harden deserves to be at number 7. Certainly not better than Curry.
Yeah.
But I think Harden has taken too much blame in the playoffs at times. He puts up numbers. Maybe he's not such a great team player. He's advanced on defense, though. He's not a great passer, but he's putting up incredible numbers. After Harden, I've got Luka. If you want to flip-flop those, that's fine. And then number 9, I've got Jimmy Butler. Great leader, carry that team to the playoffs. And he's shown he can score in the playoffs very well. If you want to put Jokic in there or something like that, that makes sense. And at number 10, I've got Dame. I think Dame deserves to be up there. A second best point guard in the league behind Curry. I'm not putting Kyrie up there. Maybe Kyrie can come in if he has something to prove, but Dame's an incredible player, so he closes out my top 10.
I think putting Jimmy in the top 10 is a little premature after what he did in the playoffs, but it wasn't like he was a 19 point per game scorer in the regular season. He wasn't that great in the regular season. He was pretty good in the regular season. He wasn't that great. I think what he did in the playoffs was tremendous, but of course you have to wait. He's kind of like KD in that boat where you have to wait until you see what they do next season to really grade them. I wouldn't put him in my top 10. I would put him very close. I would put him like probably 12 or 13, but I think it's a little premature to put him in the top 10 anyways. What were you saying?
Yeah, I think, and then you're going to look at guys like Jokic, Kyrie, and CP3 as where they shift, because all of those guys can get into the top 10. Jokic, you're going to see, does their bubble chemistry and success, is that going to translate to the regular season? Mm-hmm. How is Kyrie going to play with KD coming off an injury? Yeah. If Kyrie can play like he played in the past with LeBron, he can totally be top 10. And then CP3 is just going to be where he lands next year,
Yeah, okay. Arjun, get your top 10 in.
All right. I'm going to put LeBron at number 1, obviously, because this guy just won a championship. He's just a finals MVP. He averaged about 27, near triple-double. I mean, we all know what he's capable of. Giannis at number 2 because defensive player of the year and MVP. You could swap number 1 and number 2, but because LeBron you put him at number 1. Number 3, I'm going to put at Kawhi because Kawhi had an amazing regular season. He put up 28, 9, and 7 assists per game in the playoffs, which is amazing. Kawhi did what he could. I mean, he was the most consistent on the Clippers. He did a great job, but I wouldn't really he had one bad game, and that was game 7. And you know what? It is what it is. But I think Kawhi is going to come into this regular season. He's probably going to he's going to drop in that list because he does sit games. He's not as great of a regular season player. He actually isn't really a regular season player, so he's probably going to drop a good amount. But
Yeah.
Number 4, I'm going to put James Harden. I think you guys put James Harden at 7 and 9, which I think was completely disrespectful because James Harden had the most consistent playoff performance of his career. He had 35 rebounds and 8 assists. This guy did what he could to take the Rockets. He was looking. They were a team coming to the Lakers series that they could. People were saying that if they do this right, they could beat the Lakers. James Harden had had the most consistent performance. He's a great scorer.
I mean, my problem with
number 5.
Before you get into
wait, I'm gonna put Anthony Davis at number 5 because he's a great. He just won a championship. He's a great defender. Then number 6, I'm gonna put KD. Now KD, I know he was injured for he was injured for like a year. He sat out. He's been injured for a while. He sat out a whole season. But I do need to put him high because it's KD. He's one of the greatest scorers of all time.
But yeah.
And number 7, this may be a little too low for. This is Curry. I'm gonna make Curry 7 because Curry did just come back from a 2-3 month injury. So I'm gonna put him that low. He came back from an injury, and he's probably gonna go up, but he hasn't played in a while, so that's why he's so low. Number 8, I'm putting Luka, and Luka's probably gonna increase because this is Luka we're talking about. He put up 31, 10, and 9 in the playoffs. He's definitely gonna increase actually. Almost beat the Clippers single-handedly without Kristaps Porzingis. Number 9, Damian Lillard. He had a great the Portland Trailblazers had a great run. They were looking to beat Ben. You said it yourself. You thought they were going to.
I mean, they were looking to beat them, but they didn't have a great run.
Yeah, he did. They made it to the 8th seed. They made it to the 8th seed against.
Yeah, that was impressive.
And then let me just finish this off. Number 10, I would have put Jokic, but I'm going to put Butler because Jimmy Butler just willed this team to the finals and almost beat the Los Angeles Lakers. This guy deserves this.
I'm pretty confused. Okay, just immediately off the bat, Stephen Curry 7, disrespectful, super disrespectful for a guy that's coming in. Definitely,
there are guys who deserve it more than him.
A guy that's coming in who's immediately going to be his second in MVP. He's already second in the Vegas line for MVP. I mean, the guy has been the unanimous MVP multiple times. He's coming off a great season. The last time he played a full season, and that was last year, not this year, but the last year. And I mean, he's coming into a team that's completely depleted. I mean, they don't have KD anymore. We don't know what Draymond will be. He didn't have a great regular season last year. And then you look at Clay, we don't know what Clay will be. And then, of course, that horrendous rest of the team that is the rest of that team besides Andrew Wiggins, who isn't a great defender. You look at Stephen Curry, he'll have to do so much for that team next year. And I think that you're way underrated.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that because he hasn't played for so long that he's so low. He's probably going to jump. These are just my rankings. They're going to change. They're due to change.
Okay, I think you're looking at a potential MVP year for Curry. Like you said, KD is coming out for them. This is one of the, they're looking to win right now. He's not approaching the end of his career per se, but he's getting older. I think you're looking at an MVP a potential MVP year for Curry. He's got something to prove coming off the injury. I think he can totally get there.
Yeah, I know, but I'm judging this off of the past history. I'm judging this of what's happened, and Curry just got back from an injury. He played a couple of games.
Yeah, but he played well in his couple games.
What?
He played well in his couple games. And I mean,
but he didn't play better than Luka did. He didn't play better than Lillard did in the playoffs.
He's definitely better than James Harden on my list, 1,000%. 1,000% going into any season. I don't care if Curry has one leg, he's going to be better than James Harden.
Yeah.
That makes no sense. Wait, you guys don't understand. This guy hasn't played for a long time.
But he's still played basketball. It doesn't mean he's not played any competitive basketball in the past year.
James Harden's insane stats. I'm not a James Harden fan, but this guy put up 35 points per game in the regular season. This guy is a regular season.
Yeah, but Curry has a way bigger team impact than James Harden.
Yeah, the team impact is what you really need to look at because, Harden does put up those stats. But, I mean, Daryl Morey, who we'll talk about later because of that signing, but Daryl Morey did everything throughout Harden's entire career with Daryl Morey to get him a team that can compete. And no matter what he put around him, James Harden couldn't win because he just is a terrible impact for your team.
Well, I don't think
he's not. Okay, if he was a terrible impact for this team, then how come they went 2 times to the Western Conference Finals?
I'm not saying he's not like a Russell Westbrook type bad influence for your team.
I know what you mean, but he's not a terrible. He's a great impact for your team. He does
compared to Stephen Curry.
He's not a stat
absolutely.
pattern. That's
compared to Stephen
Curry.
Such
a high misconception that he's a stat pattern. Which he kind of is a stat pattern, but he benefits the team. He's not hurting the team.
Yeah. Okay. Also, the thing you have to look at with James Harden is that if he doesn't put up like these numbers, his team is going to lose. Like, you have to understand that. So he had good pieces around them, but he hasn't had what Stephen Curry has. So I'll give that to Arjun. But for his career, he's got to find. He wanted Westbrook. He got Westbrook. They're not playing well together, really. They did not play well together in playoffs. Let's win next year.
Can we go back to the Kawhi thing? I do want to just before we wrap. I want to go back to the Kawhi thing.
Real quick.
Why do you have Kawhi at 7? Because
I've explained this way too many times.
Yeah, but Ben, you were talking about literally the other time on the podcast. You were talking about how Kawhi, this was a fluke. That was your exact words for Kawhi. This was a fluke.
I'm not saying that he's a bad playoff performer at all. I do think that.
But how can you put him at 7?
This past loss in the playoffs was a fluke. I don't think that this Clippers team was worse than the Nuggets team. I think it was a complete fluke that they lost.
We're not talking about the Clippers. We're talking about Kawhi as a whole.
If it's a fluke that they lost, how can you put Kawhi so low?
I don't think it's because of the playoff performance. I think it is because the players above him are simply going to have better seasons next season than he is. That is my true belief because Kawhi Leonard,
But you're saying if it's a fluke, then that's assuming that Kawhi Leonard is going to have a better season next year. So how can you put him so low?
That's not what I'm assuming at all. I'm assuming that they will go further in the playoffs next season if they have a better coach and they have a better team.
No matter what team you have, Kawhi is going to be the best player by far.
So it doesn't matter about how the team does. It's like you're taking Steph Curry and he has a terrible team, not terrible team, but he doesn't have a good team with him. Kawhi's performance in the playoffs was amazing. He did everything they could have asked him for. It was just the Clippers that went wrong. I think that even though he does load manage, he also does play really well in the regular season. We're not talking about the regular season though. We should be talking about how well they did in the playoffs, how well they've done before. That's not the only thing you talk about at all. We're talking about next NBA season, what the players are going to do. It's not about what they are going to do in the playoffs completely. It's about what they are going to do next season. And I believe the 7 players that I put in front of Kawhi Leonard are going to have better NBA seasons than he will next season. But anyways, let's move on. Let's talk about, should the Hornets have been rumored to want to trade up for James Wiseman if it can secure James Wiseman next NBA draft? Do you think that it's worth it to draft James Wiseman, and do you think it would be worth it to trade up to get him? I'll start off as a Charlotte Hornets fan. I think it's due that I have to start this one off, and I have to say some bullshit about this. I mean, Michael Jordan has fucked with my entire childhood. He has made me in pain my entire childhood. And the second that this third pick, when we got the third pick, it's like, damn, we got a pretty good. The Hornets got a pretty good young core. Plus the third pick, this could really amount to something. If you draft James Wiseman with this pick, I seriously might just turn off the NBA for the next season. I think if Anthony Edwards is available, I think like if Edwards isn't available if you're trading up for James Wiseman in this draft, if you can still get Anthony Edwards, that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. James Wiseman, it's purely stupid nowadays in the NBA to trade up for a center because of their high floors and how irrelevant they are in the NBA today. Like, sure, a high floor would be good, but the team needs a high ceiling. So trading up to get James Wiseman when you could get Anthony Edwards, who has one of the highest ceilings in the NBA's draft right now, then I think that would be completely stupid to draft James Wiseman, and it would make you an even more disappointment of an owner that you've been, Michael Jordan.
Okay, it's not just about drafting James Wiseman. Moving up for anyone for them is dumb because they have their top 3 right now. You're looking at Melo, Edwards, Wiseman, and Avijahada, all of which would contribute good things to their team. So drafting up, especially for James Wiseman, if you're talking about drafting up for Anthony Edwards, maybe I understand. But at this point, it's looking likely that Edwards could fall to 3 because you're talking about rumors that Melo is going to go number 1 to the team.
Yeah, like not only likely.
Don't get me started on that.
But like not only likely, like I've heard not only from that, I've heard from my sources, because I do have sources that are inside with the Charlotte sports teams, but like you hear everywhere that like the Timberwolves are going to draft Melo because he's the consensus overall 1 pick to them, and then the Warriors are high on Wiseman and they're high on and Denny. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. I'm pretty sure you're pronouncing it wrong. But
they had a good workout with him.
I think that like you're getting Anthony Edwards, who people have been saying for months is going to be the best player in the draft. That's why after the lottery, people were going to assume that Anthony Edwards was going 1. But I think the main thing about the trading up is to trade up, you have to give up pieces. And I mean, they're not going to take Nick Batum in pick 3 for pick 2. It's going to have to be like a valuable piece to move up because they don't just want to trade down one pick for no reason. And I think that you would have to give up a piece of your core, which would be stupid. I mean, as a young rebuilding team, giving up young pieces just to go up one when you can get a player that has a higher ceiling than James Wiseman, that would just be stupid. That would just be plain stupid. And I think that this team just need to stay on the same trajectory that they've been on this whole time with the young core and not fuck anything up, Michael Jordan.
Yeah, whoever they get top 3, it's going to be a good contribution to their team. Right. It looks like they could get Edwards because the Warriors are looking for Avicii and maybe for Wiseman. So top 3, they're looking very good. They should definitely not trade up.
All right, I'm gonna give my take, and I disagree with both of you guys. Now,
what do you think?
I think that the idea of a trade going from a number 3 spot to a 2 spot is a good idea. I think they should trade up. Ben, you said that you're giving up some part of your young core. You're not giving up shit. You'll give up a couple second round picks just to move up one spot.
I don't want to give up any second round picks for them to move up.
It doesn't matter. A second round pick doesn't matter if it means securing James Wiseman. Now, I think the Warriors are going to get Denny. And they're not really care if, okay, you want this pick, just give us some second round picks. I don't care. Now, when they get that second pick, I see James Wiseman as the savior for the Charlotte Hornets. I'm not a Hornets fan, but I see them as a savior. Want to know what?
Because
they already have 2 guys, Rozier and Graham, who are 2 solid guards. Now the main point is that you let Biyombo go. You have Cody Zeller, who's got one more year. He's shit for a center. Now, this guy would be the perfect guy for your team. They lack centers. If you have this guy, the benefits outweigh the problems with this guy.
No, okay. I'm
gonna keep going. Now, this guy averaged 20 points, 11 rebounds, and 3 blocks.
He averaged 3 games.
I know this is a couple of games. I know this was a couple of games, and he left. But this still is absolutely insane. Now, in his draft report, they said that he has extreme speed. He has extreme athleticism. The weaknesses that this guy had, the only weakness was playmaking and strength. This center does not need playmaking. A center doesn't need playmaking.
So many things that you've said are wrong. So many things that you've said are wrong, and I need to intervene because you can't go on embarrassing yourself any longer.
Actually, go ahead.
Okay, so you said that James Wiseman will be the savior of the Charlotte Hornets.
Yeah.
James Wiseman, again, he's the highest floor in the draft of the top guys, but he's definitely the lowest ceiling. And the thing that the Hornets don't need is a low ceiling out of the top picks. They don't
how is he not a high
compared to the other guys? He's a low ceiling compared to because I mean a center in the NBA isn't really worth that much unless it's a superstar center. I don't see James Wiseman being a superstar center. He hasn't even played competitive basketball since last November. It's been a year for him. And I mean I love James Wiseman as the guy he's a pretty good guy and he's a pretty good basketball player. He fits perfectly with the Warriors because they need that high floor, but the Hornets need a high ceiling. And I mean, you said give up a couple second-round picks. I think you're undervaluing what a second-round pick is. You could see people in the past, like people got Gary Trent. You could see all these good guys that went in the second round. There's really good second-round players.
That's a one-hit wonder. It's a second-round.
But for the Charlotte Hornets, they need someone like that to fill in their team. Ben's right. Like, that could be valuable for them.
Yeah, and I mean, like,
my fault. A second-round pick is outweighing the importance of a franchise player.
He's not a franchise player compared to the others. I think that if you're going to trading up in other drafts, Arjun, trading up in other drafts, like the drafts with Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley, and then Green, like those drafts to trade up to get one of those guys is very important. But when you have a top 3 pick and one of the most balanced top 5s that the NBA draft has ever seen, because there's not really a top heavy talent, there's no purpose. It's just stupid. You're giving up young talent to trade up in the draft, which would just be stupid unless you're trading pick 3 and let's say Cody Zeller, getting rid of that contract, then that's good. But also, if you're going to trade up to get Anthony Edwards. Don't trade up to get James Wiseman. James Wiseman can.
Why are you? Wait, Ben. First of all, I'm gonna get into why, because the idea of trading up, I agree. You may not need to do it, but I think Wiseman is more of a target to the Hornets than Anthony Edwards, because Wiseman is the center that they need. They have no center by next year. They're going to have no center whatsoever on their team. What, Willie Hernan Gomez? Actually, yeah.
No. Okay, now you're getting a little.
I'm going to keep going. I want to keep going.
A little stupid, Arjun. Because
I want to keep going.
Look at the free agency.
Because James Wiseman has
the Hornets
no
are going to try to
at all. He has no bust material. He has so much athleticism, so much length. He's a terrific defensive anchor. Okay, say he's not a great offensive player. Say he's a bust. He's still an amazing defensive player. This guy he has no bust material.
You don't need a high floor as the Charlotte Hornets, who doesn't have a superstar. You need a high ceiling in a player like Anthony Edwards. And I mean, you said that they have Graham, they have Rozier, but I mean, A, you could do the small ball lineup, and also B, Rozier isn't a part of the young core. Rozier is what completes the young core around him because he's a good vet. He played on a good deep playoff team with that team that played against LeBron in the Eastern Conference Finals. But I mean, Rozier isn't important to that team completely. I think that
so you're telling me that the Hornets should change their entire play style just to get him when they can take in Wiseman and they can have.
Yeah, but Arjun,
why would you change the entire play style? Why would you go small ball for just Anthony Edwards?
I'm not saying they switched the small ball. I'm saying
that's what you just said. That's what you say.
Okay, look, Wiseman's not going to be picked at number 1. We can all agree that they have Karl Anthony Towns. Wiseman's not going to get picked at number 1. He might get picked at number 2. If he gets picked at number 2, there's Anthony Edwards and Denny Avdija available for them without having to give up any other things.
If it gets down to it, when it gets down to it, as a fan,
or James Wiseman available at number 3. I don't think there's any reason to trade up.
No, the thing is, like, as a fan of the franchise and as a guy who's really looked into this draft, because of course, even before we got the 3rd pick, I really looked into this draft. When you look at it, like, if it's Denny and James Wiseman, or if it's like James Wiseman and Obi Toppin that are available when you draft, then of course take James Wiseman. Take him because he would be the best available at that time. But if Anthony Edwards is available, no way in hell that I'm drafting anybody but Anthony Edwards if I'm the Charlotte Hornets, because James Wiseman does not have the ceiling that Anthony Edwards does. Anthony Edwards has the potential to be a franchise player. James Wiseman, I'm not so sure about, especially since being a center in the NBA makes it very, very hard for you to be a franchise player.
How can you say he can't be a franchise player when he put up 20 points per game
in 3 games? In 3 basically exhibition games.
In college.
Exhibition game.
I don't think anyone
it wasn't. It wasn't an exhibition game. He played more games.
Look at his opponents that he played in those games. Exhibition.
It was an insane competition, but that doesn't matter. This guy just doesn't have bust material.
I'm not saying that he does, but I would rather take the small amount of bust potential with the fact that you can get a player who can be a franchise player than just a high ceiling center. Because you know what, when you look at the free agency, the Hornets could sign Montrezl Harrell, they could sign Serge Ibaka. The center position is at its all-time low in value in the NBA. So why would you take one with your 3rd pick when you have a potential franchise player sitting there at shooting guard or small forward in Anthony Edwards? It does not make sense.
I would take him because he's Simmons special. You're looking at it the wrong way. James Wiseman is something special in the league, and you're underrating.
Okay, I think
this guy can't be one of the few centers that's a franchise player. I get it. They're not many franchise centers, but this guy has amazing potential. He had 3 blocks per game. 3 blocks
in 3 games.
I think. Okay, Arjun.
Wrap up.
To try to wrap us up. I think James Wiseman could be a bust. I think he has a lot of potential, but he's a much riskier player than most of these guys that can go top 5 in the draft. I think he's a riskier player. Like you said, we have
Isaac. Who would you take over? Who?
I'm taking Edwards over him. Also, I've gone hard on the Warriors going for James Wiseman, but right now it looks like they might take Avdija over him, and that says something. They have a very good coaching staff. That says something if they're looking at Avdija over Wiseman. I'm just saying, because he's like a riskier player.
How is he a riskier player than Anthony?
Okay, he's not riskier, but he's less potential to be that big guy. He's obviously going to be good, but again, the center position, especially a center that can't shoot, is at an all-time low in value in the NBA. It's not the early 2000s.
Shoot when you have athleticism and insane length. Do you know what this guy's wingspan is?
Yeah, no.
Wait, I'm gonna get my wrapping up point.
Let Arjun close. I'm
gonna wrap this up now. The idea of trading up, I agree that you may not want to give up something too valuable. Maybe if you give up like an age, like maybe if you give up Cody Zeller, that is a good idea. But my point is that me personally, I just see Wiseman. I would rather take Wiseman. I see Wiseman as more of a rare player and a player who has less bust material. I think he would do a lot more than Anthony Edwards on this Hornets team. That's just my take.
All right, let's move on then. We clearly don't have our take of sharing the same opinion, but let's move on and let's talk about what does the Daryl Morey to the Sixers move mean for the future of Ben Simmons? Isaac, what about you start us off?
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, you look at Ben Simmons, but also you want to look at Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid as a duo, because if I'm looking for the offseason, I'm going to keep both of those guys. That might seem a little bit irrelevant but it is relevant because Ben Simmons needs to be surrounded with shooters. That at this point, I think it's on Ben Simmons. Nobody can tell him to develop a jump shot anymore. He's got to go out and do that himself. All right. If that's his own prerogative to go out and get a jump shot. If he adds that to his game, God knows what his ceiling is. That's insane for them. But at this point, they need to surround him like shooters, like they did when they had guys like JJ Redick. Like they had good shooters on that team. And also not only does Ben Simmons work incredibly well when he's got catch and shoot shooters, but he works way better with Joel Embiid. They're able to spread the floor and maximize their potential as a duo, but individually, Ben Simmons needs shooters. Daryl Morey, I believe, can put shooters around him better than they've done in the past. They've made really big mistakes. They've made really big mistakes as an organization. I think Daryl Morey can better help maximize his potential as a player for their team.
All right. Yeah. You said it perfectly from me, Isaac. I think that Morey will bring every bit of excellence that Ben Simmons has out of Ben Simmons. I think that he'll trade for perimeter shooters around him. But I mean, like, I think that generally the thing that Daryl Morey is going to do, it's not going to be to put a small ball lineup where he has to play center and he can't do anything. It's going to be that he's going to trade for a team and build a team perfectly around Ben Simmons, like he did with James Harden multiple times. I mean, we saw James Harden would ask for this, he would get this. James Harden would ask for that, he would get that, because Daryl Morey would do whatever he did. He tried to do whatever he could do possibly to get James Harden the team that he needed to win. So I feel like he will build a team perfectly around Ben Simmons. A reminder, he's not the 7 seconds guy. It was that Mike D'Antoni and James Harden wanted the 7 seconds because they thought that it would optimize James Harden's potential. I think that doing that, getting Daryl Morey is going to be amazing for Ben Simmons. And I mean, Ben Simmons, we have not seen much progression at all from Ben Simmons throughout his career when he's played. But I mean, now that you have Daryl Morey, I feel like he can push every single bit of excellence, like I said earlier, out of him. I think this is a beautiful move, and I feel like this will really help them. And there's also the chance that he trades Joel Embiid, since Daryl Morey is a famous risk taker of the general managers in the NBA. And I mean, I feel like he would get a good price for him too, especially a good price to build around Ben Simmons. But Arjun, what do you think?
All right. I think Daryl Morey is a great GM, and I think I agree with you both that he will bring great shooters to that team. That's definitely what they need. But I think Daryl Morey is in danger of taking away what makes Ben Simmons Ben Simmons. I think that what's happened with him, it's clear that Daryl Morey is a guy who likes perimeter. He likes perimeter play. He likes offense. Now, I'm not saying that Mike D'Antoni, I don't think it was only Mike D'Antoni that was in favor of the offense. I think Daryl Morey is used to an offensive kind of play style, and he wants to get more offensive players. I think where you can maximize Ben Simmons' potential is by focusing on the defensive end, getting shooters as well, but also getting defensive players around him, getting more of a defensive team. I don't think Daryl Morey is the type of GM that's going to maximize Ben Simmons' potential. He's going to make him happy, but he's not going to get Ben Simmons to the point where he should be.
I think that's ridiculous. Honestly, I think you're looking at a different team, honestly, with what you said, because you said that he would thrive in a defensive system. And I mean, they did that. The Sixers did that exactly. They built a perfectly good defensive system around him, and it flopped 100%. I mean, you saw Al Horford, Josh Richardson. I mean, most people thought this team was going to go far in the East because it was such a great defensive team, but they didn't have shooters. I think that Ben Simmons, he was maybe a top 3 defender in the NBA this season. I've heard a lot of people think that he was the best defender in the NBA this season. He was in contention for the Defense Player of the Year award, but I think he does need shooters around him. We saw he had what is not much progression in his career. He's had the most progression of his career when he had JJ Redick and he had Jimmy Butler. He had great, well, Jimmy Butler's not in that, but he had great shooters around him. Once you get shooters around him, because he's one of the best playmakers of the NBA, you'll see every bit of excellence that can possibly be brought out of Ben Simmons, out of him, and he'll finally progress as a player in the NBA.
Also, I think with Doc Rivers, that's a deadly duo in terms of recruiting and having them fit into their system. I think Doc Rivers can help maximize his potential, especially with Embiid if they keep him. Yeah.
And I feel like
I'm agreeing with you on the idea that getting shooters is going to be great. But Ben, you brought up the point that their defensive system this year was pretty bad, and it was bad. That's not to blame that's not to blame of the system. That's to blame of the coach. The coach did a terrible job with that. Keep in mind, Al Horford flopped. That guy was supposed to be amazing. This was supposed to be an amazing team, but that I would blame Al Horford on that. I blame Tobias Harris on that. What I'm saying is that you need to try more variation to this defensive team. They had Jimmy Butler. The team with Jimmy Butler almost beat this Kawhi team, the Kawhi-led Toronto Raptors. I would say that you need to maximizing what Ben Simmons can do is by creating more of a defensive team. This guy is just going to get more small guards.
But Doc Rivers is going to help you out with that.
I feel like we obviously disagree with you, but I just want to get a final thing up, and I think that before we move on, I think that getting Daryl Morey will also tame Elton Brand. Elton Brand is probably one of the worst general managers in NBA history. I mean, the dude has built nothing but chaos. It's kind of like a person when they get on NBA 2K My League and turn the salary cap off for the first time. I mean, he's just giving out contracts left and right, and it's ridiculous. I think that now that you have Daryl Morey there is one of the best basketball mindsets that there are, one of the best basketball minds that there is in a general manager today. You put him alongside Elton Brand, maybe they can mesh together well, but I think that's one of the big things since he's now the president. But I think
I just say one quick thing?
Yeah, sure.
I do want to say that I think this is going to be an upgrade. I'm agreeing with you guys. I think this is going to be an upgrade from last year. I'm just saying I don't think it's going to help in the long run. But yeah.
Yeah, but let's move on. Let's talk about, is anything less than a championship a disappointment for this Brooklyn Nets team? Actually, I'll start this one off if you guys don't mind. I do think that this not only will not winning a championship be a disappointment for this team this year, I think it is a championship or bust year for them, absolutely. But I think it will split up the team in some sorts. And maybe if that's splitting up KD and Kyrie or splitting up everybody but KD and Kyrie. Because, I mean, you see teams like this, you see KD and Kyrie, as they're known as like the two most emotional guys in the NBA. Maybe if they don't make it to the finals or if they don't win the finals, you could see the locker room will immediately break in half. I mean, Isaac loves to talk about chemistry, but I mean, that will be a big thing is if they lose in the finals, KD and Kyrie will start pointing fingers. KD will get his fake Twitter account out and start tweeting about Spencer Dinwiddie if he has a bad playoff series. I think that's it. They need to win a championship this year, or else the idea of winning with KD and Kyrie is breaking. And I also think that KD, even if he does bounce back as his full self, he has not that many years left to compete in the league since he is getting on the older side, especially for someone that thin of a frame. And of course, Kyrie's just going crazy. But anyways, what do you guys think about this?
I'm actually Isaac, like get your take in before.
Okay. Yeah, I totally agree with Ben. I think they're going all in on this season, or at least for the near future for them this next couple of years. This is totally a championship or bust, at least finals, especially when you're looking at the East is going to be much better this team, much better next year, but not as good as the West. So they definitely have to make it to the finals. If it's not a championship, it's a failed season for them, because I think at this point, it's KD and Kyrie are in the driver's seat as a pair. They got together. They're going to influence what they do in the offseason. It seems like they chose their head coach. They're controlling the whole situation. Now you have to figure out, can you work as a duo? Can you work on the court together? That's the question. If they don't make it to the finals, so they don't win a championship, it's a failed season because they're going all in. They're having these demands. Bring in Steve Nash. I want to play with him. And I'm sure they're going to have off-season demands for which guys they want to send. Do they want to pick up any guys? Do they want to leave guys off on their team? This is a championship or bust year. They have to prove that they can play together on the court. They're best friends, but they have to prove they can play together.
No, okay. I'm going to get my take in again. For this topic, again, I'm against you guys. I don't see why you would say that this is a championship or bust team, because this is your first year. This is their first year. They've had their full might. This is the first. This was
LeBron. Am I right to say that this was LeBron and Anthony Davis's first year together?
Yeah.
Like I'm not going crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That wasn't a championship or bust season. That was only important for LeBron's legacy. That wasn't the Lakers could have multiple.
They won a championship this year together.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
probably have a worse roster than the Nets do, supporting Cat.
So, well, my point is that I don't think that this is a championship. This is like a do or die situation because they've got years to come. This isn't like they're going to get pushed out of the East. They're a team that's going to be good as long as they keep their roster. Now, you guys like to talk about chemistry. And I think you're overrating the fact that KD, you're overrating the idea that KD and Kyrie are going to be drama queens and once if they lose. Because at the end of the day, they're grown men, and I think they're going to be willing to do what it takes.
I mean, Kevin Durant, you saw him.
They
He
are
left
willing to do
the
what it
team
takes
that beat
to win
him
a
in a 3
championship.
that caught up in him a 3-1 lead. I mean, the guy is the definition of a snowflake when it comes to this.
It's not when it comes. Okay, my point is that you're just overrating the idea that the locker room presence will be terrible. I don't think it's going to be terrible.
But
and I think that just talent-wise. Wait, guys, I want to get my point. I want to keep going. My point is that this team has so much talent on it, and I don't think this talent is going to be wasted by chemistry, that they don't win a championship. I think if they fluke, if something goes terribly wrong, if they blow a 3-1 lead, then this might as well explode. They lose to a 4th or 5th seed. They lose to a bad team, something goes wrong, but if they just simply lose a championship, say fair and square, that's not just the end of the road. They're a team.
I think that's absolutely. I mean, this team has
5 more years. 5 more years.
Team has a total. No. I mean, like
how they still have more years to come.
I mean, like the absolute latest that this team can contend for a championship is the end of KD and Kyrie's contracts if they don't get out of there by then. I mean, like, not only do they have the expiration date of if they don't win a championship, if they lose in some sort of dramatic fashion, then KD and Kyrie will throw fits and it will break the internet. And everyone will be talking about, will this team even stay together? Will these guys even stay in Brooklyn? But also, you have to look at Kyrie said, I don't remember when he said it, but he said he wanted to retire sometime in his early 30s. And I mean, KD, again, I said he has a very thin figure, and I don't know if he can really compete for that much longer.
Wait, one second.
If he does come back, if he does come back as more, if he does, Arjun.
Kyrie says that, oh, I'm gonna retire now. It's time to retire. I almost won a championship. Oh no, I gotta retire now.
Okay.
And then you look at Isaac. Then you look at KD. I mean, even if he comes back as a figure of himself, he's not going to have that much time left to compete. And if he's losing, he's going to be angry because he is that soft guy that everybody knows him as. It's not just a fluke, Arjun. And I think also, I mean, Spencer Dinwiddie started a GoFundMe saying, if I get to this much money, you guys can choose which team I go to in the free agency. This team is not in a situation where if they lose in some sort of fashion, that they'll just be happy to be together again. They're at least if they lose, going to trade everything else but KD and Kyrie. But I mean, worst scenario, they lose in some sort of dramatic fashion, and KD and Kyrie want out immediately.
Can I take back what I said? I don't think they're a long-term team. I think that they're a team that can contend for 2 or 3 more years. I think you guys are saying that, social media is going to explode after they lose. Say they lose a game 7 against the Lakers, and they're just like, oh, it's all your fault. Oh, it's all your fault. That's not going to happen unless they have a really bad performance. Then something like that might happen. But if they just simply don't win the championship, they just simply lose. It can be fair and square.
Okay, I agree.
They just didn't win. Then yeah, it's going to be fine.
I agree with Arjun to a certain extent, but I think that there are barely any teams that can stop them if they play well together. If they just flat out play bad as a duo, it's over.
Yeah, but I mean, like going back. Like, you look at the Nets are probably, if you're a Nets fan, you just got to say, I mean, if KD and Kyrie play as what they thought they were going to be coming into the team, they're going to win a championship. Like, it's 2 of the most talented guys in the NBA. I'm not discrediting them at all, but like, if they do lose, which I don't think there's a big chance that they do lose, they are a very, very talented team. Not only do they have 2 of the most talented players of all time, but they also have a deep bench and a deep starting lineup. I mean, this team has a lot going for it. But if they do lose with this team and they know that the 2021 offseason's coming up and new super team can build in that next offseason because there's a lot of big free agents, there's a lot of good rookies. I mean, there's going to be a lot of heat and there's going to be a lot of tension in that locker room, and we really don't know what's going to happen. But let's move on. Let's talk about the last thing we want to talk about today, which is it's the too high or too low NBA 2K ratings. And I'll just get straight into it. I'll say something and you say, is it too high or too low? LeBron is a 98. Is this too high or too low, Arjun? I would say that's actually just
medium.
Right.
That's the best rating.
Right. I think like you could boost him up to a 99. Like he can really be anywhere from 97 to 99, but I think 98 is pretty good. I think that has no further explanation needed. Giannis at 97.
Wait, Isaac, what do you think about the LeBron?
I don't think
Giannis and LeBron are both rated well.
But yeah, let's just move on. Harden at a 96. I think this is very fair put. I think that if he would be a 99 if he did play further in the playoffs, because I mean that's part of what they probably graded off of. But then you look at Dame, Steph, and KD. They're all three 95s. Do you think that the KD rating too high or too low?
I think that's fine because he's coming.
No.
I think honestly,
KD
I think it's fine because he's coming off an injury. He's very variable. I think it might be too high for Dame, honestly. Maybe Dame is put in a 94, but in general, that's good because those guys are both coming off of injury.
Yeah. To carry
I think Dame should be I think Dame should be a 96.
No. Okay, before I talk about that, because that's pretty stupid. I think that KD, if you could just not grade KD, which of course you can't because it's a video game and it's not off real NBA performance. If you could just give him 0 rating, then that would be suitable for me because we don't know what he's going to be. So I don't really know what I could rate him. So of course, anything they put's going to be fine. But then Steph and Dame are not same tier. They need to at least be 1 overall off. I think it's pretty disrespectful. I think it's a crowd of recency bias to put Dame and Steph on the same tier. I think that Steph should be a 96 and and Dame should be a 94.
But Ben, that's the point. They're supposed to be like, what do you mean recency? You can't use recency bias into this.
Yeah, of course it's recency.
Dame played well. He deserved that rating. It might go down. I think Curry is the ratings are gonna change over the season. So,
but we're talking about what they are right now. But anyways, let's move on. I want to make this pretty brief. So Luka is a 94. Is this too low or too high? I think this is way too low. I mean, in the previous 2K and the previous gen, he was a 96, I think, at the end of the game. And I think he deserves to be a 96 or a 97. I mean, he was an MVP finalist. He put up a triple-double as a second-year player. And, of course, all that potential on him.
Almost beat the Clippers without KP.
Yeah, without KP. And, I think it's ridiculous to have him any lower than a 95 at least. And I think it's really weird that they dropped him down. But, Isaac, just make it brief.
Yeah, I think 94 is fine.
Yeah,
that's all I'm gonna say. Second year in the league. So I mean,
okay. Next, we got Jimmy Butler is a 93. That is a big step up from. I'm pretty sure he was an 88 in the previous 2K. I think
definitely too high. It should be around 90.
Recency bias is the words that we have to use for this. I don't think there's any further argument on that. I think that's
well, they're showing love to him, but what do you guys think? 90, 91, 92. What do you guys think?
He's another one where I would just did not rate him. That's not possible, but in my opinion, in my ratings, I just don't have him rated until
I put him at a 90
next season. But yeah, I think a 90 is fair. But then I think that Irving and Tatum at 90s are pretty suitable. I don't think there's anything controversial about that. But then Trae Young, Devin Booker, and Donovan Mitchell are 88 overalls. Do you think any of those are too high? Actually, I think that Trae Young, personally myself, with how horrendous his defense is and how overcompensated his stats are because he is on the Atlanta Hawks by himself, I think he should be around an 86 maybe. I think that's a fair rating for him. I think he's drastically.
People love Trae Young. I think he's a way overrated player.
Absolutely. But
I don't think he's way overrated. He's a little overrated. I think 88 is actually good for him. I think
if he's the real thing
I think Donovan Mitchell should be a 90 or an 89.
But I think that the main thing that I took away from that is that Devin Booker, I think if you're looking at, since this is a game created off players' skills, it's not like playoff performance isn't a stat. It's not a stat. It's not a rating. But then you look at it, it seems far more than disrespectful to put Devin Booker 5 ratings below Jimmy Butler. I think that's completely stupid. I mean, you're giving the guy who's probably second or third best scorer in the NBA 5 below Jimmy Butler. While he is a great player, but when you look at the skill, when you look at the overall rating, because you're looking at the skills, that's completely disrespectful to put him that much below Jimmy Butler, maybe even just below Jimmy Butler. Same with Kyrie Irving. Same with even maybe Jason Tatum because of what they do skill-wise. But then moving on, we got Murray and Gobert are 87s. Do you think these are – what do you want to say?
Okay, Gobert is good because that dude's a defensive beast. But Jamal Murray.
Recency bias.
Came back down from 3-1 2 times. That dude is – no, he's also just an insane shooter. He's an insane player. Okay, 89. I'm going to go with 89.
I would put him higher. I
think 87 suits him. I think it's a big upgrade from his previous rating, which was, I think, a lot lower than that. But what he did in the bubble was crazy. And I think that 87 is perfectly suited for him until he could prove more. We saw what he did in the bubble, but you can't completely judge his game off what he did in the bubble. You can just assume that he had a step up. But we really have to see what he does to really up him to an 89 or a 90. But then for our last set of ratings that we have, we got Kemba Walker, Jaylen Brown, and Zion Williamson sharing the same overall with an 86. I think that people are hating on the Zion rating a little too much because he played a small fraction of games, but in his small fraction of games, he was playing historically well, especially for a rookie. I mean, the rating 86, again, that 2K has assumed people to be better in their sophomore seasons and graded them off of that. They graded Mitchell at 86, I think, going into his second season. I think that's a perfectly suited rating, and I think he'll jump up in next 2K. But
I'm going to say that Kemba's a little way underrated. Kemba, okay, Jaylen Brown's good, but Kemba should be an 88. But honestly,
I think that's perfect. I think it's perfect.
Yeah. The Zion fanboy face is showing. Zion should be an 84. He should not be an 86.
Yeah, I'd put him lower. But yeah, Kemba's got to be higher.
Also, like you look at 2K, and this isn't on a basketball standpoint, but it's from a standpoint that they made him the cover of the game, where they really just gotta.
No, I get it.
That's the reason that Dame is so high. Like Dame's probably like a 93. Dame's probably like a 93 or a 94, but they have Dame at whatever he is, a 95, because he is the cover athlete. Like, of course, they get a little boost in what they have. But anyways, I think that'll be it for us today. Before, of course, we got to go. We got to pop out our merch again. If you're still watching, you should definitely have a piece of merch to yourself.
If you're still watching, you guys are legends.
You're OG. If you're watching and you're not subscribed and you haven't liked the video, what are you doing, man? I mean, there's so many things. Like, besides liking and subscribing, you should also comment about what was the stupidest thing Arjun said today. I think that should be like a new thing. Just what is the stupidest thing he said today, since it's always a new record being broken. But anyways, that'll be it for us today. And signing off. Peace.